Hey everyone, and welcome to Season 10 of the Choose UCalgary Podcast. I'm Prithul, your host this season, a third-year student in the Haskell School of Business, and a new co-op student with the undergraduate recruitment team. If you're thinking about joining UCalgary, you're in the right place. Each episode will dive into student life at UCalgary, chat with current students, and explore everything from faculties to campus resources. It's all about giving you a real feel for the UCalgary experience. Let's get started! I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the peoples of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, and acknowledge that the city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Districts 5 and 6. As someone who moved to Calgary from abroad, I've developed a deep sense of gratitude for the opportunity to live, study, and connect with new friends and colleagues on the lands of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda Nations. It's important to remember that everything we do here at the University of Calgary, including podcast recordings, starts with these lands. Please keep this in mind as you listen to this podcast. Joining us today are Bill, a student, and Megan, an assistant professor in the Faculty of Nursing, and they're here to share a bit about their experiences with the faculty and tell us a lot about what it's like to be a student in nursing. So thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the podcast, Bill and Megan.
Thanks for having us.
Yep.
How have you been today?
Pretty busy. I started the day off with a couple runoffs. I have a upcoming festival on Thursday this week, so it's been pretty busy. Yeah, it's called the Calgary Public Care Village. So we bring together about 40 different agencies in healthcare, social services, and entertainment sector, and we have usually about 700 people who come to the festival to access the services. So yeah,
That is so cool. What about you, Megan? How's your day been?
It's been busy. Being an assistant professor teaching, I'm just getting ready for the fall term. We're down to the wire, and there's a lot to do before students come in to get everything ready for them to make sure they have the best experience.
I just introduced you guys as people in nursing, but there's so much more to you guys. Please tell me a bit about yourselves.
sure. So my name is Bill. I'm an incoming fourth-year nursing student at University of Calgary. I was in dark entry stream. I'm the president and CEO of Radicare Ventures. It's a social enterprise that hires people experiencing employment barriers, and we do property maintenance across downtown Calgary and rest of Calgary as well. Currently, we're piloting with the Calgary Municipal Land Corporation with a washroom attendant project. So that means my staff members who experience poverty, homelessness, addiction are actually placed at that washroom facility every single day for about 12 hours a day. I'm also the co-founder of the Public Care Village, which is a festival for anyone experiencing systemic vulnerabilities. It is a placemaking initiative that we aim to make downtown Calgary a vibrant place and as welcoming for everyone as well. On top of that, I am one of the board directors for the Chinatown Business Improvement Area. So we do try to bring in people to the area, activate the space, making the space vibrant. I have quite a lot of interest, and they're all kind of tied together back into nursing and community health.
Well, I think it's pretty cool that our nursing students like Bill have made such an impact in the community, even as students, right? And I think it goes a long way to show how much, people think sometimes as a student, you're so busy with school and what a possible impact could you have, but you can have such an incredible impact in the community. So I think that's a really good example. For me, I've been a nurse for 20 years. And in the last 20 years, I've worked mostly in acute care in the hospital and for the majority of the time in critical care. So working in the ICUs with the sickest patients. And about 7 years ago, I started teaching with the university and taking clinical groups to the hospital. So it was students anywhere from the very, very first day setting foot in a hospital, learning how to be comfortable in that space, all the way to senior students who were very close to going out on their own. And I've taught about 30 groups so far in the last 7 years. And 2 years ago, I made the jump into becoming an assistant professor teaching. And so now, in addition to teaching clinical, I'll have another group this fall. I also course coordinate clinical groups. So, for example, in the winter, I was co-course coordinator with another assistant professor. We had 32 groups out in the community throughout Alberta in hospitals. And I also teach big lectures of pathophysiology for our nursing students as well.
That is so nice. as people who are both in nursing and learning a lot, are there sometimes students that you run into who are maybe still in high school or maybe are just thinking of nursing, doesn't know too much about it yet? What are some major questions that they end up asking you?
Yeah, I mean, I came from direct entry, so I went straight from high school into a nursing program myself. And certainly I have other folks who are a couple years under me who are coming out of high school, one is going to nursing. And I think one of the biggest things is that this is unlike any other degree or program where, when you're in a nursing program, it's a professional program, prepares you to become a registered nurse, right? So you're learning things from start from the get-go. You're learning about very practical things that you're not going to ever learn in any other programs as well. And you are being exposed to patient populations, vulnerable population groups, patient with different disease presentation, etc. And I think that's something that a lot of people aren't really exactly aware of what the nurse program does. And I think the other thing to be aware of too is that nursing isn't just solely acute care, emerge ICU message. It's about how do we use the knowledge of becoming a nurse and the knowledge of becoming a health promotion facilitator, and how do we influence policies? How do we influence health system design so that our patients aren't coming en masse who are supposed to be treated in a primary care setting, but now needs to be treated in an acute care setting, which isn't designed for it. And I think we need a lot of that. Advocacy coming from young leaders and aspiring nurse leaders as well. And the other important thing to note is that when you are a student working on a unit, you are taking on leadership positions. You don't need to become an RN to take on leadership positions, right? Like you're in charge of that patient. If you notice something that's wrong, reports. If you see someone doing something that is not right, it is your responsibility professionally to be intervening in that setting as well. And I think that's a lot of responsibilities for someone coming from high school to university that needs to be aware of. Yeah.
I think what's important to know as an incoming student or somebody who's interested in nursing, that yes, there is a lot of responsibility in nursing, and it's a serious matter because these are people's lives, maybe your family members, right? But the thing is, we get you there, right? Like we don't expect you to have that knowledge right out of the gate. And the program is designed to build you up to that level where you feel confident in being able to have responsibility and developing into a future leader. So even if you're coming out of high school and you're like, well, I have no leadership experience. Wow, it sounds like Bill's experience is, I don't know that I could do all those things. Well, maybe you can, right? Maybe you can eventually. And maybe your goal is to work in a hospital. Maybe it's to work in a community. It doesn't matter. What I find most is students who come from high school and I bring them into clinical, one of my first questions is, why nursing, right? Because everybody has their own reasons. A lot of people are like, well, I was a patient, as a baby or child or my family member, or they're just interested in different routes of nursing. And a lot of people come into nursing, they don't really know what nursing is still, right? So learning that nursing is more than, just what they see on TV is probably the biggest part of the learning experience and the impact that you can have on a person's life. And I think that's pretty cool, that we can do that in nursing, that have that kind of an impact on somebody's life.
That is pretty impactful. For a lot of the high schoolers listening and for the business student hosting, could we maybe get a bit more clarity on some of the terms that you guys are using, such as acute care and primary care, and what do those mean?
Want to do the community? I'll do the acute.
Sure. Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but so primary care, we're looking at proactive visits, for example. So nothing is wrong, or maybe it's a chronic disease that someone has. Let's say diabetes or hypertension. You're managing that in a community setting. So you're going to your family doctor's office. You're going to a nurse practitioner's office, right? And I'll let you maybe talk about acute care.
Yeah, the difference between acute and chronic to start with is acute is something that is potentially life-threatening right now, whereas chronic is something that has been going on for a long time, right? So people come, for instance, in the hospital, we consider that an acute care environment because people are coming to the hospital for something that is, affecting their life right now. Right? And maybe it is something that's been going on chronically in their life, such as their diabetes, that is now out of control, or maybe they've developed something on top of that, such as a broken leg or things like that, right? So they come to acute care, and the goal is eventually we send them home, right? And we get them back to where they're able to function at home, and maybe then either they're independent in the community, or we send them home with community support, and they are managed in the community.
Now I will understand a lot more.
So that's
I feel more knowledgeable now.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Thank you for making me smarter.
Well, feel free to ask us because sometimes we talk that big nursing talk and then we don't realize, well, maybe the person that I'm talking to doesn't know those terms.
The fun question, I have remembered it now. What is a myth that exists in the healthcare industry right now from people on the outside? Or like a myth that people on the outside believe about the healthcare industry? And would you like to debunk it?
I think like from the TV shows that you're seeing, it seems like the physicians are calling a shot. They're doing all of the interventions. But in reality, I think, the healthcare system, the backbone are nurses. Without nurses, you cannot move, a patient from state A to state B. And I think oftentimes those roles of nurses are underplayed in a lot of these TV shows and productions. Especially, I'll let you talk about acute care, but let's say in community settings, particularly in a field that I'm very interested in, which is serving a vulnerable population. We have entire teams that are nursing-led. So when a patient comes in, it is a registered nurse or a licensed practical nurse who is actually assessing a patient. They're then engaging with it's called healthcare provider, which could be a nurse practitioner or a physician. But they're really doing a consultation process, right? So it's the nurses who are noticing the signs, formulary assessments, they're making decisions afterwards. A lot of the nursing care involves a lot of the care that a patient receives. So they get a lot of face times with nurses. So they build relationships. And from that, the nurses are able to also try to figure out socioeconomic status of this patient. And how do you navigate that kind of system? Do you need to collaborate with community partners or, hospital social workers? The job of nurses is to connect resources. It's to provide care and is a core part of the healthcare system that is often underplayed in the healthcare system in movies that we see.
Yeah. I think often what we see in social media in nursing is often that glorified, it's a travel nursing, sitting on the beach, making tons of money, just traveling wherever I want and getting all this. But the reality of nursing can be quite different, and it can be quite different from what we see on Grey's Anatomy, for instance, too, right? On Grey's Anatomy, we see the doctors doing all those things, but in real life, they may be doing some of those things, but in healthcare, we don't work under the doctors. We work collaboratively as a team with all the team members, whether they be physicians, whether they be respiratory therapists, social workers. We work as a team. So those orders that come through, they're not bossing me around, as the bedside nurse. I'm the one who's there at the patient bedside all the time. And I'm making decisions for my patient's care. So even though the doctor may have ordered a certain medication, doesn't mean it's appropriate for that patient at that time. So, or maybe, the doctors are off somewhere else in the hospital, but something's wrong with my patient, right? So it's incumbent on me to say, well, something's wrong. What do I think is going wrong? So when I call that doctor, I can say, this is what I think is going on with the doctor, or this medication is not appropriate for the patient at this time for this reason. And I can make recommendations. And then they say, you know what? I agree with you. Let's go order a chest x-ray. Let's order this medication. Let's do these things. Or I may ask them, you know what? I think things are serious enough. I need you to come down and look at the patient, and let's work together to get them back to, where they're doing better.
Yeah. And I think to add on to that, it's maybe a little bit more technical, but under the Health Professions Act, we have different regulatory colleges. So regulatory colleges are ensuring that if you're going to call yourself a registered nurse, for example, that you have the competencies that they require you to have. And therefore, it is actually illegal for someone who is not educated as a nurse to call themselves a nurse. And that is to protect the general public as well. And then, physicians are under different regulatory colleges. Physiotherapists and RTs, respiratory therapists are under different regulatory colleges. So we're all responsible for our own practices. We're responsible to keep up with the core competencies in education, but we all work collaboratively as well as a team, right?
This very directly bleeds into my next question. This is to the both of you. What made you choose nursing? And to Bill specifically, what made you choose nursing at UCalgary?
For me, it was a mixture of personal experiences and a little bit of my early on volunteer experiences. So I actually wanted to become a pilot for the longest time in my life. I actually was in flight school. I remember I soloed as well as halfway through my private pilot license. My goal was to become an airline transport pilot, flying 777 across the Atlantic, wide body jets. But in grades, 11, 12, that's when my mom got really ill. She was ill the entire time I life, but chronically. That is when I interacted a lot with nursing professionals in, acute care emergency settings, or, that's in, regular internal medicine units, or whether or not that's in a consultation basis in palliative care, or even in hospice care as well. And it was always the nurses who really had that face time with me, elaborated on decisions that why the healthcare team is doing this, and I should translate it so I could understand. And that's really what cemented what I wanted to pursue for an undergrad degree, which was nursing. And to the second part of the question, which is why nursing at U of C? And one part of it is absolutely the convenience of it. Living at home and going to nursing school was a lot nicer. And I knew that U of C was going to be a good place because I've also talked to folks who graduated from U of C, and they said it was a good nursing program. And that was from my interactions in the hospital as well.
I also chose UCalgary Nursing because when I decided to teach, this was the program that I wanted to work with. And I have really, really enjoyed working with University of Calgary. And the things that I really appreciate about UCalgary Nursing are that affect our students is the amount of support that we have available to our students. Both, we have an amazing Indigenous initiative within the faculty. With our new Indigenous framework, we have an in-house mental health and wellness clinic as well. We work with diverse neurodivergent students. The diversity of our students is what makes us stronger as nurses. And we're always looking to improve our program to not only improve the experience of our students, but to improve the experience of our patients and clients within the healthcare system. And to me, that is very, very exciting that we can accomplish both things at the same time.
Bill, I am so sorry to hear that you had to go through so much as such a young person. And it is really inspiring to hear all that you're doing, kind of knowing that background. Once again, it's so cool to have professors like you who kind of joined in and are making UCalgary a much better place to be in every single day. Have you wondered what your future at UCalgary could look like? On October 25th, we are opening our doors for Open House 2025. Meet current students, explore programs, and check out more than 40 faculties and services that are here to support your journey. From interactive discovery sessions to campus and residence tours, it's the best way to see what life at UCalgary is all about. Register today at ucalgary.ca/openhouse. Both of you have been with UCalgary for a bit of time now. What is your favorite memory in teaching or in learning at the University of Calgary?
I think it's probably the camaraderie that I built amongst my friends and peers that I get to have access to. And I think nursing is very unique because it's in a smaller cohort, so you do get to know your peers well. Like, even though we have lectures that are 120, 150 students, we obviously have these very small 7 to 10 people clinical groups, and you know each other well. So you get to complain about the fact that you have to wake up at 5 a.m. and traveling to clinicals. You get to complain about the fact that you're leaving at 10 p.m. Next day you have an exam at 8 a.m. And I think those are camaraderie that you don't really get from other faculties, but that you get within the nursing faculty. So it's a very unique experience for sure.
Yeah, the students in nursing are amazing. They're so much fun. And I'm learning a whole new Gen Z language along with it, right? But I think
favorite Gen Z word before.
I don't know if it's Gen Z or millennial, but I do like to say things are pretty lit within nursing, right?
Well, this podcast episode is going to be very lit.
Yeah, I think so. It's not a specific memory, but tied into what I was saying about the small victories. When I have students come to clinical and so I tell them on the first day, I give them a big orientation. What are we going to do this term in the hospital? And often they'll look at me going, "Are you serious? Are you crazy?" And I'm like, "No, I wouldn't say we're going to do this if I didn't think you were capable, right? If you and I are both willing to work hard, we can get there." And sure enough, by the end of the clinical experience, at the end of the term, they are very confident. They've gotten so much experience. And my favorite kind of memories is when a student, goes out, they're successful, they finish their degree, they become nurses, whether in the community or in the hospital, working with pediatric patients, working with babies, working in the ICU, it doesn't matter. They come back to me a couple of years later and they're like, you know what? It was your clinical that I remember, and it really made the difference. And maybe it was just the difference in I felt more confident in my ability to become a nurse, right? So sometimes students doubt themselves along the way, and they're like, you know what? I don't know that I can do this. Like, this course seems pretty tough, or whatever the case might be. Maybe there's something going on in their lives. All it takes is for one instructor to show them that they are capable. And then they go off and become fabulous nurses, right? And that self-doubt leaves them. And you see that a couple years down the road when they're nurses and they get back to you and they're like, wow, what a difference. And look at me now. I'm a successful nurse and I'm working in my dream job as a nurse, working with babies in the NICU kind of thing. Or I'm working in emergency and that's always what I wanted to do. Or I'm working with patients or clients in the community who have overdosed, and I'm making a difference in their lives and helping them get back on track.
That must be so nice to hear. Someone you taught when they were, for instance, giving out their first Tylenol to seeing all that they're doing now. That must be a wonderful feeling.
Oh yeah, people's growth is more than I think they think they're capable of. People are if you give people your belief in them, it's amazing what students can do. And so they come with a level of can I do this? To be able to walk away and go, wow, I really can be a nurse, right? And I am smart enough and I am capable of doing this and I can get really good at this. It's so cool to see that growth.
It's really nice to hear about the general communal nature of nursing, because that's not necessarily something I associated nursing with. It was just, healthcare. But just hearing about your experiences with all of your friends and how you guys are existing in this very wholesome community together, to hearing about your experiences with nursing and how you're helping all of these students and they're coming back to you and you're seeing their ties back to that community or that communal experiences that nursing is offering. But based on the tangent we went on, I'm so curious now, Bill, what is your favorite Gen Z word?
Oh my God, this is catching me off guard. All my friends gonna roast me now. I do use Slay a lot, so.
Wait, Slay I take on one. I quite enjoy it.
You are slaying this interview. Oh, thank you. I miss you.
You are both slaying it interview.
Yeah, when it comes to Gen Z words, I actually really like using them in lecture from time to time. I like to whip them out when students are least expecting them, right? When they come to class, they're like, wow, there's this prof talking about everything that can go wrong with the heart, and it sounds very serious. And then I whip out a joke using a Gen Z word. Those kind of things are what help students remember that content, right? Where you could be sitting there, maybe even, oh my goodness, I don't know this, or it's so much I'm falling asleep. Those kind of things are what keeps our students involved and keeps them engaged in the lecture. So I take advantage of whatever they'll teach me, so that I can bring it into my lectures.
Even though both of you are in relatively different spaces, this is something I want to know about both of you. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah, I think I don't fully know in which area I want to end up in, but I do want to make systemic change and policy changes. I do see good evidence-based policy decisions impact a person's ability to make change in their clients' lives. And I really do truly believe in that. I do want to stay, of course, in touch with bedside nursing or bedside healthcare service in general. So I do want to retain a casual line to learn about challenges that are coming out from that frontline experience. But I do see myself moving into a position where I can influence or make decisions that are impacting the health system overall.
It's hard to say, because what I've learned in nursing is you have to be open to just about anything, because I came into nursing thinking I would be a labor and delivery nurse, and I became nothing like a labor and delivery nurse. I worked, in the ICU, right? I never would have expected that. So, I never would have expected that I'd be teaching in the Faculty of Nursing at University of Calgary. So I've learned to embrace anything that comes, but I'm really, really interested in initiatives that are going to make our faculty take it even to the next level. So we're very, very good in making our faculty accessible. I want to continue to work on initiatives such as that. And I want to continue on working on curriculum initiatives that are going to prepare our students for the nursing workforce. And as you know, as I said before, that changes all the time. So the way we teach has to change with it. So those are the kind of things I'm interested in. So I still see myself with the faculty in 5 years. I really, really enjoy teaching. And I think that's key, is enjoying it. So why would I stop doing that, right? Keep doing what you love doing, right? And if you love nursing, go nurse, right? And that's the beauty of our faculty. You could do that.
I hope you are teaching in 5 years, and I hope you are making policy changes in 5 years. I'll come back. I'll do a check-in in 5 years. We'll do another episode then. Another little fun question. Both of you have had enough interactions with the healthcare industry, and I'm sure you have a lot to say about it. But what is one word you'd use to describe the experience of being a nurse?
One word. Do you have one?
Unpredictable.
That's a good one.
I'm still debating. This is very challenging. I was going to use challenge as a word, but I feel like that's still too boring. But I was going to say like decision making. You just make that into one word.
Just hyphenated, yeah. Finish in one way, yeah. But yeah, those are some cool ways to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Since this is geared towards students who are maybe considering nursing and maybe considering nursing at UCalgary, what is some advice that you'd have for future students?
I think as a student, you need to put yourself out there, talk to the prof, talk to your instructors, talk to your classmates, explore some of the other campus resources as well. And I really want to emphasize that part. As a nursing student, I access, resources that are, for example, Hunter Hub. I did map the system, for example, and that's really valuable for us to be looking at the healthcare system through a systems mapping lens perspective, even though you might be an individual practitioner in it. I also access resources through Innovate Calgary, through Social Innovation Hub. And, when you leverage the different resources a university has in maybe unconventional ways, you also leave paths for other people to continue that as well. Now I have people kind of reaching out to me about how they could start their social innovation project or how they can be involved in a community. And that's really cool to see. And really the biggest thing that fundamentally goes down to is to just try things that are new, try things that are uncomfortable, and talk to as many people as you can to get different perspectives.
I think my take home for students who are considering the program is embrace the learning. Right? As nurses, we have to know what we're doing to be effective nurses to take care of, say, your parents, right? Or my child. We would want our nurses to know what they're doing. So learning how to nurse, really taking the time to understand that. It's hard work. It's challenging. And you know what? Students who come into the program actually enjoy the challenge. They're like, I'm getting a challenge here. This is great. And that learning process isn't always going to be a smooth ride, and that's okay. The uncomfortable spaces where I'm now learning how to hang my first IV medication and administer to this patient. Wow, that's a lot of pressure, and my instructor's watching me, and I have to do medication math. Like, wow, what if I'm not successful? It's okay, right? It's okay. You may not be perfect the first time, but with practice, you will get there. We are all there to make sure you are safe in your learning. And just because you're in nursing doesn't mean you have to.
And to add on to that, the challenge within and the learning that you get through the nursing program isn't just purely academic. Like, we're not memorizing, obviously you need to know it, but different pathophysiology, pharmacology. It's about the moment when, for example, how do you talk to a family when, their parent just passed away in front of you? It's about the moment when, for example, maybe code blue is being called because you discover this person has no pulse and no heart rates. Now you're the first person on scene, and how do you take charge? And these are learnings that are not really captured on textbooks, and you really get them through your clinical experiences and practicums that you get. And how do you talk to a person? Just about the most awkward questions that you can ask about the sexual history, for example. And those are the stuff that you'll be learning in our nursing program as well. And it's very, very diverse. So be prepared to be exposed to all these different things.
The program sets you up really, really nicely to get to a point where you are comfortable in those situations. I think as a nurse, you shouldn't always be comfortable, talking to someone after their parent passed away. I think if you're too comfortable with that, you've lost your humanity, right? But at some point, we have to be there for our patients, and you're not going to know that right on the first day. It's going to take practice to get there, and that's okay too, right? But the program is absolutely wonderful in getting you there and giving you guided exposure. And the big takeaway is that communal aspect, right? Like you're there with your clinical classmates in a group of 8, and you're all learning together, and you get to know each other really, really well, and you get to know your instructors really, really well, and together we're learning and I learn from my students all the time. So
See, that's like, I had this friend who was in nursing, and she was telling me a bit about that. She was reading this one friend we have really well, and I was like, how do you know that? And she's like, I'm in nursing. I have to know how to read people so that I know how to break certain news to them, or how to like approach talking to them, or how to get them to listen to me sometimes even. And I was very impressed. That's not really something that from the outside you consider as much. You think it's more so about the anatomy or the knowledge of medication and all of that. But it's also a big social thing. You have to really know how to navigate that setting.
it's called, there's 2 sides to nursing. There's many sides to nursing, but there's the science of nursing, and then there's the art of nursing, right? And that's what makes nursing different.
That should be on the t-shirt.
Right? I'm a big science of nursing person. I teach pathophysiology, but I'm also a very big art of nursing person, because for me, like keeping in mind that this is someone's life, this is, they have to understand that they can trust me, and they're not going to do that automatically, right? Like, so I have to be able to provide education to them, talk to them, support them. All those things are the art of nursing. If I walk in a room and I'm very, frustrated, and I'm like just handing them meds, well, if that was you, would you take that med, right? No, you probably wouldn't, because you'd be like, well, what is this, number one? And I don't know that I trust this nurse. So that's where the art of nursing comes in, is to support your patients and your clients in understanding, what we're doing, but also to be able to work collaboratively with your patients. That's important too, right? Because like people who come into health system, the biggest thing they feel is the loss of control, and that they're not being, maybe they don't feel like they have a decision in the matter. So our job is to make them feel included and allow them to understand that they are the primary decision makers in what's going on. But our role is to provide the education so that they can make those informed decisions.
It is a very multifaceted degree, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that needs to go on the t-shirt. Just call the faculty right now. Okay. The science of nursing and the art of nursing.
Yeah.
Before we kind of leave off, what are some resources at UCalgary that you think that future students could benefit from, that you yourself have benefited from, or you've maybe like helped it? I mean, obviously, professors who use Gen Z language is a big resource. I would love to have that. But what are some other things that you think could be beneficial for our future students?
Yeah, I think nursing faculty and I think Megan already mentioned earlier, we have a nurse practitioner-led mental health wellness clinic that the students of nursing can access. And I personally have access to them myself. The degree is challenging. Sometimes you need a space to de-stress, and they have also dedicated spaces to do that as well. There's lots of activities that the nursing faculty brings out, especially the Undergraduate Nursing Society, UNS, brings out events, whether or not that's, painting, arts, or, just having movies together, whatever it may be. There's a lot of leadership position that students can access and also benefit from as well within the faculty. In a greater faculty sense, you have your advisors as well. You can always talk to your coordinator for your clinicals if there are any challenges with your clinical instructors or your professors. For practicing actual skill sets, there's open lab times, for example, for you to actually go in and practice certain skills. So that's something I'm going to be taking advantage of this year, for sure, going into my term 7. And yeah, those are some pretty good resources.
Yeah, I think Bill's hit most of them. And I think the additional really important thing that our faculty offers is a really strong Indigenous program. So even if you don't identify as Indigenous, we have sharing circles and truth and reconciliation circles and smudging opportunities, which allow me as a settler, a non-Indigenous person, to understand better about Indigenous culture, my responsibility towards reconciliation, and to better understand my patients who may be Indigenous. And those sharing circles are an incredible experience. And I find them just a wonderful resource for me, but I've also seen them be a wonderful resource for students too. Another aspect I would like to mention is, if a student does meet challenges along the way, and everybody does, whether it's with academics or something at home and stuff, I think as instructors, as professors, we are open to hearing about what's going on. We would love to support you. Our doors are always open. Take advantage of those office hours, Go and talk to your instructor, your professor, because maybe we can help you, right? There are bigger university-wide programs that can help you, such as the Thrive program as well. We can access all that, or, maybe you don't know about them. We can hook you up. So things like that are just some of the highlights, in addition to the mental health and wellness clinic, which is amazing in our faculty.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think I learned a lot more. I didn't know there was you guys had those sharing circles and the smudging rituals. I didn't know that was something the faculty did. So
yeah, we've been really innovative in meeting our reconciliation responsibilities. And I've certainly learned a lot. I know students have, I know other faculty have. So I have really, really welcomed that into our faculty as a result. It makes me more responsive to my patients.
I think even as a student, every time I host people on this podcast, I learn so many new things. So it's such a cool opportunity. Now I know where to go now for so many things. But yeah, I think that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I learned so much. Had such a great time talking to you. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course. Always. Just shoot me one text. I'll get ready with the mics. And thank you so much for all that you shared for our future students. I hope they enjoyed this episode as well. So, yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Season 10 of the Choose UCalgary podcast. Remember to follow us on Instagram at choose.ucalgary and Facebook at UCalgaryFS to stay up to date on all things UCalgary for future students. DM if you have any questions, and stay tuned for the next episode. A huge shout out to Shulik Soundstage, a student-led music club right here on campus, for producing the amazing music you've heard throughout this episode. It's just one example of the incredible creativity and talent you'll find at UCalgary.